Right, so there's a lot more studies that have been coming out recently in regards to just how bad food is in this country. And so I'm reading an article from CNN Health. Ultra-processed foods linked to cancer and early death, studies find. Now, I will say my first criticism, well, I've always been a critic of the term processed food because it's unspecific. Processed food, what does that mean? Oh, it's been through processing. What the fuck does that mean? Right? Like when I harvest tomatoes in my backyard, that's a process. What is processed food, right? It's unspecific and it's vague. But then, now, we're seeing terms like ultra-processed. What? It doesn't mean anything. So, my opinion is these terms are a huge, huge, huge setback on all of the findings of these studies, right? The findings of these studies, if properly labeled and properly identified, I think would resonate with vastly larger audiences if terms like processed or ultra processed. Like ultra processed sounds like a cartoon. That sounds like some shit from like Transformers. Oh, the ultra processor. Like what the fuck is that? Like is that some like sci-fi shit? Anyway. But seriously though, food, at least in the United States of America, is poison. Almost every food that you eat is poison, right? Like, let's be honest. What is food? What is the idea? When you think, oh, what do I need food for? To fuel your body. Well, again, if you are eating sausage, if you are eating fucking Wendy's, if you are eating, like, fucking donuts, you're not feeding your body. You are poisoning your body, right? Again, I need you to understand there is no nutritional benefit at all from most of what Americans eat. Once again, 95%. I know, it's insane. I know every time I say this, like I feel like I'm in like the Twilight Zone or something. Like I'm in one of those weird ass Twilight Zone episodes. 95% of Americans don't eat vegetables. And where's my source on that? Well, a study was done in 2019. I'm sure it's worse now. That found that only 5% of Americans hit the daily recommended minimum of fiber. What is fiber? Fiber is mostly found in fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. 95% of Americans, the only vegetable they have is like whatever the fuck this like weird ass like green shit is on their hot dog, right? You know what I mean? It's insane. It's insane. 5% of Americans eat vegetables. That's insane. Like, I mean, seriously? Like, find an issue that perfectly encapsulates how our fucking society is fucked more than only 5% of this country eats vegetables. I cannot think of another single statistic that perfectly encapsulates the American crisis better than the fact that only 5% of Americans eat vegetables. It's insane. But again, my criticisms of the terms ultra-processed and processed aside, there have been more studies that have been coming out, and I try to cover them whenever I see them, that have really been kind of displaying just how exactly these foods are killing you. They are killing you. Life expectancy in this country is going down, not just because of COVID, but because of food quality, right? So again, there's also the argument life expectancy isn't the end-all be-all. Think about it this way, right? If you can live, if life expectancy goes forward and you can live an extra year, but you're taking 17 pills a day and you can't walk, is that really a life well lived? Right? If you can make it to 84, right, more consistently, but by the time you're in your 60s, right, you know, you got like 3 heart transplants, you know, your liver died fucking 20 years ago, right? You know what I mean? So like life quantity, to my perception, I don't really care about life quantity as much. Now, I say this as someone who wants to live to 200 years old. But again, life quality is also extremely important. And you ever wonder why there's no charts on life quality, right? The closest metric we have is like the happiness index, in which the United States is like, right, in the dumps they're on. But anyway, let's get to this article. Eating a lot of ultra-processed foods significantly increases men's risk of colorectal cancer and can lead to heart disease and early death in both men and women. I got like a hangnail going on. According to, I love this idea that it's like, you know, if men eat processed food, it's going to kill them. But women, they can have as much processed food. What is this fucking stupid bullshit where we're doing gender segregation in how food affects our body? You know what I mean? Like, what? What? Like, yeah, a man can have 15 steaks and they'll die. A woman, 15 steaks, they'll be what? No. We're human beings. Like, do we really need gender segregation in every fucking category? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, according to 2 new large-scale studies of people in the United States and Italy, published Wednesday in the British medical journal, the BMJ, ultra-processed foods include pre-packaged soups, sauces, frozen pizza, ready-to-eat meals, and pleasure foods such as hot dogs, sausages, French fries. Now, I'm just curious, how are French fries processed? Like, you just cut up a potato and deep fry them, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like, to me, that doesn't seem, like, that seems like not even processed at all. What's the process, you know? Unless they count, like, frozen French fries, I'm not sure. Soda's a big killer. In my opinion, if I had any power in this country, I would try to ban soda. That's my opinion. Store-bought cookies, cakes, candies, donuts, ice cream, and many more. Literally hundreds of studies link ultra-processed foods to obesity, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and overall mortality. Once again, 95% of Americans don't eat vegetables. They don't eat fiber, right? 93% of Americans, the delta is 2% here. 93% of Americans, coincidentally, have extremely slow metabolic rates, right? They are cardio-metabolically unhealthy, according to studies that have recently come out. There's a new 2022 study that came out that said 93% of Americans are cardio-metabolically unhealthy, which means it takes them longer to break down toxins in their body, which means that they have more insulin resistance over time, right? It leads to metabolic syndrome, which leads to pre-diabetes, which leads to diabetes, which leads to death. Okay, motherfucker? So, I'm just, you know, 93% of Americans have pre-diabetes. Not so good. Not so good. Anyway, these 2 studies continue the consistency. Ultra-processed foods are unambiguously associated with an increased risk for chronic disease, said Nestle, who was not involved with either study, just some random person. The U.S.-based study examined the diets of over 200,000 men and women for up to 28 years and found a link between ultra-processed foods and colorectal cancer, the 3rd most diagnosed cancer in the U.S. in men but not women. Processed and ultra-processed meats such as ham, bacon, salami, hot dogs, beef jerky, and corned beef have long been associated with a higher risk of bowel cancer in both men and women, according to the World Health Organization, American Cancer Society, and the American Institute for Cancer Research. The new study, however, found that all types of ultra-processed foods play a role to some degree. We found that men in the highest quintile of ultra-processed food consumption. You know, this is another interesting thing with gender segregation. I read a study. I don't remember when it was. It might have been 2 years ago. It might have been 2 months ago, for all I know. Maybe someone can remind me. I think I did it on the show. Right? That said that men are far less likely to eat healthily because it thinks, like, they think that eating healthy is like a sign of being like a beta male. Like, no, this is like an actually documented effect of toxic masculinity. Men are afraid to eat salads because they think other men will think that they're weak because they eat a salad. That's the world that we live in. That's American society. That's what we have produced in this country. A bunch of stupid fucking man babies who think taking care of your body is a sign of weakness. What? What? Shouldn't it be the opposite? Oh, you're eating garbage. You're a weak fucking idiot, right? You can't run a mile because you eat sausage every day. But only in America is eating a salad a sign of being a beta male. What a stupid fucking country. Anyway, go look up on my channel to see if you can find that. I don't know when I covered that. So it might have been 2020, 2021, or 2022. I'm not sure. Had a 29% higher risk of developing colorectal cancer, said co-senior author Fang Zhang. a cancer epidemiologist and chair. By the way, that name, Fang Zhang, that's a good name. Like, Jesus. I wish that was my name. Chair of the Division of Nutrition, Epidemiology, and Data Science on the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University in Boston. Everyone's got these super long fucking, like, labels. Like, there's like, yes, I am the chair of the Division of the Nutritional Epidemiology and Data Science at the Friedman School of Nutrition. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, can you tell us who you are in, like, 5 words or less? Like, challenge? Come on now. That association remained even after researchers took into account a person's body mass index or dietary quality. Why didn't the new study find the same risk for colorectal cancer in women? Reasons for such a sex difference are still unknown, but may involve the different roles that obesity, sex hormones, and metabolic hormones play in men versus women, Zhang said. Alternatively, women may have chosen healthier ultra-processed foods. Now, again, you ever go to the fucking grocery store and you're in the frozen food section? By the way, never go to the frozen food section, okay? Just throwing that out there. But if you're ever in the frozen food section, you ever see these, like, there's, like, I'm no joke. There's, like, lean pockets, right? And you see these, like, quote-unquote healthy choice frozen dinners, right? Now, I read a study a couple, I don't know when it was. It could have been years ago. It could have been months ago. That said that women are more likely to eat, like, the healthier shitty option. And this is another, this is providing that as well here, is that women are probably just as fucking stupid and just as dumb, right? But it's like, oh, I'll have the healthy choice. It's only got 16 grams of high fructose corn syrup instead of 38 grams. I'll take the lean pocket. Why? Because we got to watch our figures, right? What? Whoever invented the lean pocket, man. Now that's a story. That guy needs a biopic, right? I want to know who invented the fucking lean pocket. Like, how do we sell fucking garbage to people who think they want to eat healthy but don't actually care about eating healthy? Boom, the lean pocket was born. The study did find that eating a higher consumption of ultra-processed dairy foods, such as yogurt, was associated with a lower risk of colorectal cancer in women, Zhang said. Some ultra-processed foods are healthier, such as whole grain foods that contain little or no added sugars, or yogurt and dairy foods. Now, again, the term ultra-processed is so ambiguous and vague that it's hard to know what we're talking about. Whole grain foods are ultra-processed? Whole grain foods are pretty fucking good for you. So we need to come up with a new term here, all right? Ultra-processed, no one, even people like me that pay attention to this, the 5% of Americans who eat vegetables, even I have no fucking idea what ultra fucking processed means. And I guarantee you that these people that are doing these studies also don't know what the fuck ultra processed means. Can we get a new fucking word? Women did have higher risk for colorectal cancer if they consume more ready-to-eat or heat dishes, such as pizza, she said. However, men were more likely to have higher risk of bowel cancer if they ate a lot of meat, poultry, or seafood-based ready-to-eat products and sugar-sweetened beverages. You ever think this, oh, I'm a man, I gotta eat my meat because I'm a big boy, I gotta eat my meat. Like, Jesus Christ, man, Americans are fucking stupid. Americans consume a large percentage of their daily calories from ultra-processed foods. Daily calories. Not monthly calories. Not like, oh, you know, a couple times a week, maybe we'll have a treat. Or like, you know, once a week or once a month, I'll have like some ice cream. No. Daily. There are people in this country that drink soda every day. There are people in this country that eat meat every day. If you want to eat meat and it's like your birthday or whatever, you know, you want to splurge, whatever. I don't give a shit. But there are people in this country that eat meat literally every day, and they think it's healthy for them. Like, literally, people will think bacon and eggs in the morning is a healthy breakfast. Go on the street and just start asking people, do you think bacon and eggs in the morning is a healthy breakfast? And I guarantee you a significant majority are going to say, yeah, it's pretty healthy. It's insane. 58% in adults and 67% in children. Why is it higher for children? Because we have a epidemic, a pandemic, if you will, of bad parents in this country. Now, again, I would like to raise my hand here and cite my own childhood. I, was raised by a single mother. And guess what? My mom, would, she would be tired from work, so she'd barely ever cook for me. So most of the food that I ate when I was a kid, Hot Pockets, frozen meals, right? All that fucking good shit, right? I was, like, my mom would just get McDonald's on the way home just so she didn't have to fucking deal with me, right? And so I was pretty much raised on fast food and ice cream. That was my diet for, like, the first fucking 18 to 19 years of my life. I didn't know any better. My parents didn't fucking teach me anything. Whenever I'd go visit my father, right, because we had the every other weekend situation, my dad would try to impress me. It's like, oh, I want to try to make my kid like me, so I'm going to buy my kid Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's, right? Because, oh, how else are you going to win your child's affection? Quality time together? No. Going out and doing fun things together? No. Actually developing a meaningful relationship? Nah. Let's buy some fucking Mickey D's and just fucking, sit on the couch or whatever. Like, fuck it. Right? So, again, that's insane. That is insane. That's insane. Do you know the damage that it does to give children drug addictions this early? People freak the fuck out if you give a child fucking, marijuana or alcohol when they're too young, but you give a child ice cream every single day, and that's the American dream. You give a child fucking unhealthy garbage like McDonald's once or twice or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, in my case, 6 times a week, and that's the American dream. You make your child fucking goddamn mac and cheese and hot dogs and pizzas, and that's the American dream. You give your child a little taste of the beer. Oh, no, 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 no. You're an abusive parent. But you give your child ice cream, and you're a great parent. Isn't that fucking insane? So now, guess what? I have to deal with being a drug addict for the rest of my life. And my drug of choice is sugar. My drug of choice is soda. My drug of choice is ice cream. And you know how hard it was for me to quit that shit? You know how hard it is to be 17 years old and weigh 240 fucking pounds because your parents are fucking stupid and they would just feed you just unhealthy shit literally your entire life? Do you know how hard that is? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ. So now I have to live with having a food addiction forever. Forever. Because my parents are fucking stupid. And my parents are fucking stupid because this country made them fucking stupid, okay? And you know how many fucking, again, 95% of Americans are in the same boat. A link to early death. The second study followed more than 22,000 people for a dozen years in the Molise region of Italy. The study, which began in March 2005, was designed to assess risk factors for cancer as well as heart and brain disease. Analysis published in the BMJ compared the role of nutrient-poor foods, such as foods high in sugar and saturated or trans fats, versus ultra-processed foods in the development of chronic disease, blah, 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 and early death. However, when researchers compared the two types of food to see which contributed the most, they discovered that ultra-processed foods were paramount to define the risk of mortality, said first author Maria Laura, that's one word, Maria Laura Bonaccio, epidemiologist at the Department of Epidemiology and Prevention at the IRCC. Again, these fucking labels, okay, just say you work for a fucking, whatever. You don't need all these fucking things. In fact, over 80% of the foods classified by the guidelines followed in the study as nutritionally unhealthy were ultra-processed, said Bonaccio in a statement. This suggests that the increased risk of mortality is not due directly or exclusively to the poor nutritional quality of some products, but rather the fact that these foods are mostly ultra-processed, not real foods. Why are ultra-processed foods so bad for us? For one, they are ready-to-eat or heat industrial formulations that are made with ingredients extracted from foods or synthesized in laboratories with little or no whole foods. These overly processed foods are often high in added sugars and salt, low in dietary fiber, and full of chemical additives such as artificial colors, flavors, or stabilizers. Now, I want to highlight this part. Low in dietary fiber. Once again, 95% of Americans do not hit the minimum daily recommended intake of fiber. 95%. 95% of Americans are so fucking stupid they don't know how to eat vegetables. How did they get this way? Again, generations of horrible parents like my own, generations of propaganda from cereal companies that say the most important meal of the day is a bowl of Fruit Loops in the morning. That's how we got this way. But again, why is fiber so important? Here's a little fun fact. Right? Did you know that there are billions, if not trillions, of living organisms in your body, and I'm not talking about your own cells, motherfucker. I'm talking about bacteria, colonies of bacteria in almost every part of your body. Now, especially these bacteria in your gut and your intestines, right? And in your mouth, they need to eat. How the fuck do you think they get there? How the fuck do you think they survive in your intestines without eating? So, check this out. When you eat foods that are high in fiber, you want to know why high fiber foods makes you fart so much? Why? Guess what? It's because the bacteria in your gut are munching down on that shit. They're eating the fuck out of the fiber and they're producing your farts. So when you eat high fiber foods and you fart a lot, that means your gut is actually healthy. They're getting a nice that's your gut bacteria burping after a nice fucking meal. Okay? But if you don't eat fiber, you know what happens? Well, these motherfucking bacteria, guess what? They need to eat regardless of whether or not you feed them. So they're going to start feeding on your actual food. Whatever you're eating, they're going to start feeding on parts of your body, which causes inflammation. Okay? So again, people wonder, oh, blah, 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 why do I feel like shit all the time? Because you don't know how to fucking feed yourself. Okay? You don't know how to fucking feed yourself. That's why you feel like shit all the time. Now, again, we've designed a society, by the way, where farts are considered uncouth. Oh, no, if you fart in public, you're a laughingstock. People will be embarrassed about you, right? So, now, again, isn't that a little insane? Farting is literally a sign of having a healthy metabolism, a healthy gut, literally. Now, again, you can fart in some instances, and it's a sign of danger, right? That's possible. But most of the time, farts are a sign that things are going pretty well, right? But guess what? We designed a society where you shouldn't fart, and lo and behold, only 5% of Americans eat fiber, right? So again, not only when you eat fiber are you actually eating the rest of the nutrients in your food, right? But when you don't eat fiber, not only like let's say you're trying to eat a target of 30 grams of protein a day or whatever, and no fiber is involved, you're eating 0 grams of fiber. Chances are your body's not going to process all of that. You might even get, you'll be lucky to get a half of that actually processed and metabolized by your body, because every other thing in your body is going to be going like, oh shit, I need that and I'm fucking starving. So anyway, little sidebar on fiber. Well, some ultra-processed foods may be considered healthier than others. In general, we would recommend staying away from ultra-processed foods completely and focus on healthy, unprocessed foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes. Anyway, you can read the rest of this if you'd like, but it's just a couple more lines. But again, 95% of Americans don't eat fiber. They don't eat vegetables. They're dumb as fuck. 93% of Americans have pre-diabetes, essentially. They're gonna fucking die any day now. And who do you think profits from this? Food companies, creating generations of Americans that are drug addicts. And guess what? Their drugs are legal. They don't have to worry about the law. You don't have to worry about the law. The only thing you have to worry about is the FDA. And what does the FDA say? Oh, that ice cream that's going to cause your fucking child to become a drug addict for the rest of their life? A-okay. You know who else profits off of this? Big Pharma. Why? Because you develop these heart disease. You develop heart disease. You develop fatty liver disease. You develop diabetes, right? So you need insulin. Then you need to buy insulin to survive. You need to get those fucking blood thinners, man. Hell yeah. Big Pharma's making a shitload of money off of your stupid fucking ass. Right? You know who else makes money? Health insurance companies. Why? Because they don't want to cure you. They don't want to tell you, oh, maybe you should stop eating garbage. They want to tell you, you will not have to make any lifestyle changes at all. We got a pill for you. Come into my office once a month and let's bill your insurance and we'll all come out a little happier, right? Isn't that a little insane? 95% of Americans are essentially drug addicts. And I know that might sound a little inflammatory, controversial. 95% Americans, if you don't eat fiber, let's be honest, you're a drug addict. You're addicted to drugs. So cry me a fucking river. You ever see these people that go around fat shaming, by the way? You ever see this? 43% of Americans are obese, right? And the other fucking 50-something percent love to fat shame them. Oh, they're obese. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Look at how fat they are. How gross it is. Blah, 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 blah. You ever meet these fucking people? Well, guess what? 93% of Americans are fucked up. Some people, right, their symptoms develop outwardly. They will gain fat in their skin. They will gain fat all over their body. They will be more outwardly obese, right? Some people will store fat around their organs, around their liver, which leads to fatty liver disease, which historically was only attributed to alcohol consumption, but now non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is way more prominent than alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? Why? Because of processed food, because of ice cream, because of fucking soda pop, right? So now again, there's a term. It's called thin on the outside and fat on the inside, right? And what that means is the fat will surround your liver. Oh no, your heart. Oh man, you get heart palpitations, right? You get sweaty when you do a little bit of exercise. But then these motherfuckers are going to go turn around and say, oh, look how fat they are, blah, 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 blah. Like, so I just fucking hate this fat shaming garbage because guess what? 93% of Americans are drug addicts. 95% if you count the fiber statistic. This shit's insane. So just throwing that out there. We can all do better. It's about harm reduction. Like, if you can do... Now, I just want to say this as well. If you do nothing with your diet, right? If you want to eat all the same foods, if you ate a small salad, and I'm not talking about iceberg, motherfucker. I'm talking about spinach, get some carrots in there, maybe a couple of beans. If you ate a small salad every day, in addition to everything else, you will be significantly healthier because at least you're feeding your gut microbiome, and at least they're not going to fucking feed on the actual, like, you know, nutrients, what little are actually in the food that you're eating, right? So I'm just saying, right, if you don't want to make any lifestyle changes at all, you don't want to reduce anything, at least add a salad and you will be a little bit healthier. Trust me, okay? So anyway, there's your 30-minute fucking food rant. Jesus Christ. Whenever I do a story like this, I just, woo, right? Can fatty liver be turned around? Absolutely.